Hey everybody, how y'all doing this evening? It's time once again for quantum spirituality. And, whew, boy, what a day. What a day. But I'm glad to be here. Glad to see y'all. Hope y'all see me. Hope y'all hear me. That's the big thing. And got a little Boz Skaggs to light things up with. And this, of course, is 3 Chord Live. And we're broadcasting live. And 3 Chord Live consists of Bill Thrasher, Michelle Brown, Tammy Wilson, Catherine Toon, Mike Zinker, I said Bill Thrasher, Kyle Butler, and yours truly. And also we're going to do this on the GOMA, on the Global Online Ministry Alliance, with Lynn Bennett Jr., Kyle Butler, Catherine Toon, Mike Zinker, Mike Porter, Keith Giles, and yours truly. And in case y'all see something going on in the background of the mothership, there's a fusion reaction going on. So we're going to go ahead and get some shares going while y'all enjoy the music. I'm going to share this to a group. And we'll put this into somewhere in here is 3 Chord. Somewhere. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop it in a couple of pages here. So, Goma and all right. So we're rocking and rolling. We got the shares going. And I hope y'all are having a fantastic Tuesday. You know, it's like we've got one day of work in the books, 4 more to go, if you will. But hey, you know, listen, if you are hearing this, if you are seeing this, then I'm here to tell you that you have survived 100% of your worst days. And that's some really good news. Really good news. So, that being said, I'm going to go on ahead and we're going to mute Boz out here and go ahead and start talking. And today I want to talk about nuclear power and humanity. Because right now, we are at a crossroads of how we will be powered going forward. And I'm not talking about whether we use fossil fuels or renewables or any of that stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the actual fuel of humanity. That's what I'm actually talking about. I'm talking about fusion versus fission. And for many of you, some of this is going to sound, I don't know, exotic. It might sound really highbrow, but I'm going to try to bring it together in a way that everybody can understand it, because if you catch this, this will shape how you interface with others. And what you'll do is you'll begin to understand how humanity is actually powered. And listen, in order to move forward, you have to have power. You have to have something, some propellant that engages a power plant that gets you from here to there. And now, when back in the early 20s and 30s, you had like a lot of people. You had Niels Bohr, you had Albert Einstein, you had well, Max Planck was before that, but you had a lot of the Erwin Schrödinger, and all of these people. They were figuring out, you know, the quantum world, or the world beneath the world, the thing, how physics operated in the unseen realm. And this is a really big thing, because honestly, and this is why I do this thing, quantum spirituality, because really the quantum, the very essence of things, the unseen, the minuscule, the minute of things, this is what really powers everything, everything that we know. And here's the thing, that in the natural, in physics, we can understand certain things. We can understand the nature of solids and liquids and gases, but at the quantum level, it's very different. It's not quite as concrete. It's very, very fluid. And anyway, when these guys were having their debates and their discussions, part of this led to what we call the splitting of the atom. And the splitting of the atom essentially is that through a process of catalyzation, that the hydrogen atom was split. And hydrogen is the number one element, the first element on the periodic table of elements. And it is also the smallest of the atomic bodies, what we call elements. And so they devised a way by which they were able to create a chain reaction following the splitting of the hydrogen atom. And this was a seminal event because it led to, first of all, the nuclear bomb. Now, that's not, listen, you can say what you want about nuclear weapons, but when this happened, it created these weapons that were able to either stop an entire war, as they did in the case of World War II, or that they have the ability to create a détente between superpowers by which we would not kill each other. Okay? So the nuclear bomb was one thing, but from this came a whole lot of other major technological discoveries. For example, Hyman Rickover understood the power of the nuclear reactor or a fission reactor, and he put it in a submarine called the Nautilus. And the Nautilus was the first nuclear powered submarine. And it was able to do some really amazing exploits. And Hyman Rickover is known now as the founder of the nuclear navy. He's the guy that made, nuclear submarines and subsequently nuclear powered aircraft carriers. And for a time, we even had nuclear powered heavy cruisers. And there were plans for nuclear powered battleships. And matter of fact, even there was talk about nuclear powered space travel, and that would be really, really epic. But this fission happens because of a mass separation. In other words, the hydrogen atom is so bombarded by some catalytic element that it causes a chain reaction that follows the splitting of the atom. And it begins to release tremendous amounts of energy by splitting the atom. Now, that was really, really powerful, and so many things have come from that. Things like nuclear medicine, MRIs, CAT scans, advanced X-rays, and things like that. Also, some more invasive studies into the body where nuclear or fissionable material is introduced into the human body that causes that enables some diagnostics that were not possible before. And all of this from this destructive force of splitting the atom. Now, this is really, really powerful, but there's something that's even greater than that, and that's called fusion. And in the case of fusion, two hydrogen atoms are fused together by force, creating a chain reaction, but instead of fission, where everything is blown apart, fission is a chain reaction of the atom folding over itself over and over again, and it produces energy. Now, fusion power in the natural physical world is sort of a holy grail. There has been small amounts of fusion that have been invoked by scientists, and that's really cool. But when we look at it in a grander scale, that stars like our sun are powered by nuclear fusion. It is this hydrogen chain reaction of hydrogen atoms folding over one another over and over and over, and it produces power. But watch this. One of the things that we deal with as the result of fission is we have a lot of trash, a lot of nuclear waste. And this nuclear waste is difficult to get rid of because even though it is spent in terms of fuel, in terms of its ability to power things, it still is radioactive and harmful to humans. So it has to be dealt with in a very specific manner. Now, fusion, on the other hand, pretty much folds over itself until the fusionable material is exhausted, until there's essentially nothing. And that's like how suns work. They burn and burn and burn until they literally burn out, and then they implode and they become black holes or something like that. But fusion, as we understand it, can be controlled, and that once you get to the point where the fusionable material is exhausted, that it's much easier to dispose of and much less dangerous. Now, why, you'll say, Derek, what the hell are you talking about? Nuclear fission versus nuclear fusion, and what the hell does this have to do with humanity? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we are at a junction in humanity where we have to decide whether humanity is going to be powered by division or whether it's going to be powered by coming together. And that's the choice. That's where we are right now, friends. It's basically, we have a whole faction in this country right now, and in the world, in fact, that's dedicated to dividing humanity into many parts and dividing it via a violent catalyst, which in turn produces this chain reaction that threatens to destroy humanity. But fusion, on the other hand, brings everything together. And instead of being powered by our differences, we're being powered by our commonality. Instead of creating fissionable waste, we're creating perpetual human power that derives its energy by the coming together of humanity. And when you take this fusion, it brings different parts of humanity together, and it's all folded over, and you create a chain reaction of positive, useful energy with no waste. In other words, we come together and we're producing something without byproduct. See, the thing is that fission creates a byproduct. It creates radiation. Fusion creates radiation too, but the radiation is all energy. It's not waste. It's something that can be harnessed. It's something that can be used. Whereas fissionable waste is just that. It's just waste. It's nuclear waste. It's toxic. It's not useful or helpful to anyone. In fact, it's harmful. It's hurtful. And that's where we are right now. We are at the junction of fission and fusion. And humanity has to make some very difficult choices. Are we going to be separated by race, by culture, by language, by nationality, by height, by width, by language, by eye color? You can name all of these different things that you could do to split things up. Or we could bring it all together and create a perpetual energy power source by which humanity can survive. See, the thing is that even controlled fission is going to produce waste. Even controlled fission is dangerous, it's difficult. But controlled fusion, that once we get to the point where we're able to control fusion, we literally have unlimited energy at our disposal. And likewise, when we take human fission, separating, yes, that creates energy. It creates energy for a short period of time, but then at the end, it produces a toxic waste that makes the earth uninhabitable. But fusion is not like that. Fusion keeps working in perpetuity until the fuel is exhausted, until basically such a time that we graduate to no longer needing a physical body when we actually revert back to spirit. See, this is what I believe happens, that when we come together collectively, that eventually we'll get to the point where the human body, the physical body, will no longer be necessary. Or perhaps that this energy will be so great that it will cause the human body, the physical body, to be as eternal as our spirits. And that is awesome, y'all. We have to make some choices, though. Are we going to allow people to seize power whose goal, whose agenda is to separate and divide? Because yes, they too want power. They want to create power, but they create it by division. Or we can have people in power who are dedicated to granting this power to humanity. See, this is the thing. This is why religion, y'all, is so fucked up. Because see, what religion does, religion is the thing that drives the fission reaction in humanity. It is the thing that separates us, that splits us. And yes, it creates a lot of noise. It creates a lot of energy, but it's not sustainable. Write that word into your heart. Sustainable. What we need is sustainable humanity, not destructive humanity, not humanity that's constantly divided, but humanity that is joined together and cannot be taken apart. And watch, when we come together, we begin to produce this. I'll dare say it, that imagine I say to you that you are God, just like I say to me that I am God. But I say to you that you are God. But let's say that all of God comes together at once. Imagine the power of in the beginning. That in the beginning, this power source sprang forth and created everything that we understand, whether seen or unseen. But imagine if all of humanity comes together the same way and then begins to expand out in fusion instead of fission. And watch this. I believe that at that point we begin to terraform the universe. We begin to change the universe for spiritual occupation. And that's our choices, y'all. We can either keep dividing like we are, or we can come together. See, the thing is that two hydrogen atoms do not make a decision as to whether or not they dislike each other, or the components, the protons, the neutrons, the electrons, the up quarks, the down quarks, the electrical field of a hydrogen atom does not decide whether it likes or dislikes another hydrogen atom. That get left to their own devices, they will fuse, they'll bind with other elements and come together to produce useful substances like water. But if you introduce like say a cadmium pellet into a uranium core, then you create this chain reaction of fission, which is explosion. And yes, you can control a fission reactor because we have nuclear powered ships. We have nuclear power plants. We have all of that. But The thing is that even though it's controllable, it's not sustainable. Fusion, on the other hand, represents clean power. It is the ultimate renewable energy, and it is the holy grail of physicists. But imagine if humanity were to take a page from physics and instead of dividing our respective hydrogen atoms, but instead choose to fuse them. Then we create a power source, and I think that at that point, that humanity will reveal its true godliness. And that's it, y'all. That's it. Real simple. I told you I was going to try to make it simple because I could get very complicated about how nuclear power actually works. But this is the very simple version because I want to make sure that people understand it. Because if you understand this, what you're going to do is basically, listen, there is what they call the unified field. And the unified field basically is the matrix in which everything exists. And I believe that this matrix is love. It's love that unites everything, but what happens is that you have a production of waves and particles that emerge in the field that cause division, that cause separation. But that we could go into the same field and produce waves and particles that actually unify and tie the field together the way that it was created to be. Y'all, I tell you, if you get this, and some people are going to listen to this, they're going to say, "Oh, Derek, you're full of shit." And you know, listen, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm here to tell you that the reason why humanity never moves forward like we should is because we have not chosen to move together or move forward together. See, you know, you talk about extraterrestrials, alien beings from other planets or other dimensions. I believe that the only reason why these beings would be able to traverse the distances that they do and to enjoy the technology that they do is because at some point they chose to come together. See, listen, as long as we're separated, we can't even get back to the moon right now, much less go to Mars or any other planet. You know, in 1969, Stanley Kubrick made a movie, 2001, A Space Odyssey. And it was all about a probe, a man probe, going to Jupiter. And that was supposed to be in 2001, for a view from 1969 to 2001, and we haven't even got there. We're still stuck in Earth orbit. That's as far as we go as a manned band of travelers, is to lower Earth orbit. We haven't been back to the moon in almost, I mean, hell, we haven't been back to the moon in 40 years. Over 40 years. That's a damn shame. But the reason why we can't do that is because we have chosen to use fission for our power instead of fusion. So that's what I have for y'all today. I have another engagement this evening. So I want you to tune in. I'll be sharing that on my page. It's going to be a discussion about, changes in the church. And honestly, you don't want to miss that. I mean, if you have anything to do with theology, which honestly I could give less than two fucks about theology, but that's, I believe that people have to come into the theological realm and be able to move the needle and get people out of that bondage. And so that there's a little bit of fission that has to happen there before the fusion can begin. So I want you to make sure you tune into that, and make sure you tune in to the Heretic Happy Hour podcast, where I'm joined by Katie Valentine, Matthew DiStefano, and Keith Giles, and we have a hell of a good time. New episodes drop every other week. You don't want to miss that. And also the Forward podcast will be coming up soon. And then I have some exciting news about we're going to be doing some online radio, and that's going to be really cool too. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that you feel empowered. Go out and create some fusion. Go out and mesh with someone who you ordinarily would not, communicate, break bread with, or otherwise just fellowship with, get to the point where you're coming together instead of coming apart, and we will change humanity. And that's what I have. So until the next time, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be filled with peace. Namaste.